everybody, and welcome back to another high-octane episode of the Rory Excalibur Show. I believe this is episode 5, maybe 6. I don't know, and I don't care. Anyway, today for our visual aid of choice, it's me coming live to you right now. I figured out how to get this whole little setup working. I thought I'd try something a little bit different, and also because I didn't record any gameplay recently. I've completely forgotten, and this is a bit of an impromptu Rory Excalibur video. Today is going to be a bit different from what I've been doing in the past. I'm going to be reading a message that I sent to someone recently. And if you haven't been following in the past videos, previously I was talking to somebody, and admittedly they weren't treating me very well. I was head over heels, but, you know, some things are just the reality. For a short bit of context, because it will be important for this, while I was still talking to this person, their birthday occurred, and I gave them a CD mixtape that I handcrafted with some songs that they like and some songs that I think that they would like, and I made the CD cover all really nice. And they enjoyed this gift so much it brought them to tears. I wasn't expecting that kind of reaction, but I was, you know, it felt nice, you know, it felt nice and warm and fuzzy inside. And so, recently, within the past month, I was getting lots of mixed signals, you know. They weren't talking, but they were still, you know, stalking. So I thought, maybe, you know, I'll try something like this again. You know, we joked about me making another CD, an emo CD, mixtape. And so I thought, you know, why not? Maybe this will help get the train back on the tracks. Made this CD mixtape. I was really proud of it. I made the cover all really cool. It was a bit of a Weezer Photoshop job. I'm not going to show it here, but you can leave that to your imagination. Anyway, put it in a mailbox. Was planning to tell her about it, but she found it full then. She never checks her mail, so... Anyway, she sends me one message. Do not come to my house ever again. It is creepy, and I'm clearly not interested. Now, this is a much different reaction than last time, and one that I was not expecting, because the signs that she was giving me weren't really matching up to... All that I can deduce is that she's bipolar, like her mother. Which feels mean to say, because I told her that she's not like her mother. You know, that she's not like her mother and she shouldn't tell herself that. However, as much as I want to believe it, sometimes, you know, someone's actions aren't forgivable. And, well, not necessarily not forgivable, but you can't let things slide, you know? And the way she was behaving was like someone with bipolar. Fine in one moment, completely not the next, without any warning or notifying me. And of course, naturally, I have to take the brunt of, you know, the outcome of that. But anyway, today I'm going to be reading the final message that I sent to this person, as a bit of a send-off for myself. Notably, this is all just for me, really. Most of the context of this will be lost because I'm not willing to share it, because I don't want to get too personal, nor do I want to bore you with any details. But I think you'll be able to glean enough from this. So, I have it right here on my phone. I'm going to read you what I sent to this person. I'm just going to leave this message here as the last thing I want to say. I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions that you may have about me since your party, and I want to give you my perspective of everything that has happened since then. I'm not in any way trying to win you over with this message. I just want to give clarity and understanding. It feels embarrassing. It feels embarrassing to say, but at your party, I had a panic attack. I didn't realize it at the time. I haven't had one since I was a kid. After a few drinks, I completely forgot the cola was caffeinated, and I ended up having two of those tall cans, and then smoked. That's what did it to me. Because I didn't realize at the time I was having a panic attack, I didn't regulate at all, and everything I was feeling, even if it wasn't true, felt real. Because of that, I didn't sleep that night, which is why I ended up giving you that deranged phone call and conversation that I immediately regretted. That whole experience for me was a turning point. I realized that I had to address my anxiety professionally so that something like this doesn't happen again. I started seeing a therapist. I started seeing a therapist and was able to figure out root causes for my anxiety, and I've been developing regulation strategies that have been working out very well. As far as that goes, I've been doing better than ever. Anyway, over those next 2 weeks, after the party, I saw you unfollowed me on Insta. I didn't think too much of it, I just assumed I had overwhelmed you in some way, and you wanted to take a step back, which was understandable. What wasn't understandable is how you proceeded to stalk my account and stories. Naturally, you can assume what I would think of this. I figured that you were still interested in me, but just needed more time. I figured 2 weeks was a fair amount of time considering the last time this happened. You started talking to me again within a week. Even after sending you the message, asking how you were doing and being left on scene, it took me making my account private for you to finally respond. The way you responded made me think you would be ready for conversation again. I'm assuming I must have triggered you when I brought up the parking tickets, which was a fair question, by the way, because that's when you blocked me. You have to understand how confusing all this was from my perspective. Just as you seemed you were ready for civil conversation again, you disappeared again. My first assumption was that maybe you just weren't as ready as you thought you were. Your friends were still liking my posts, so I assumed you weren't bad-mouthing me in any way. And it's not like the last words we exchanged were heated or mean. I had very little reason to think that you weren't interested in me, compared to what you had been doing in the past, which was shutting down again and coming back. When it comes to the CD, I made it not long after your party. It had been finished for a while, and I was passing through the area to meet some friends, so I figured I would drop it off. I didn't think it would receive such a negative reaction, since the last time I did it, it made you so happy to the point of tears. I figured it would come off as cute and romantic like it did the first time. If I knew it would receive such a negative reaction, I would not have done it. But that's the main problem. I can't read your thoughts. Throughout this past month, all I've been able to do is make assumptions on what you've thought of me, through your many mixed signals. The night before your party, you were on top of me playing with my hair. Then I didn't hear from you again after that. You literally sent me an Instagram reel that said, me saying I'm never dating anyone again and I'll never find love again, and then that man that comes into my life after. How could you possibly think I would interpret that? You went from saying I was everything you'd been begging for, to where we are now. You said you wanted to ravage me in my car. You seemed so ready to be vulnerable and open up to share your story with me. What was I to think? I remember when we were in the car, you told me you were afraid of love bombing, because you were afraid it would end. I took that as a challenge to prove to you that I wasn't going anywhere, that I was someone you could trust to be there despite everything. I patiently waited for you because I didn't want to reinforce the idea you were putting on yourself that good things leave. I didn't want to be the next person in the long list of people that had abandoned you or severely disappointed you in some way, even though you'd given me every reason to be. I gave you the benefit of the doubt because I knew you were probably going through some heavy stuff, but at the very least you could have given me the basic decency and respect to tell me what the hell was going on instead of giving me mixed signals and leading me on. How was I to know that dropping a mixtape off this time would come across completely differently than last time? I had no idea where you were at. At the very least, you could have been polite about it. Ultimately, I don't know what I did wrong to be treated the way I have been. I admitted that the phone call conversation was not appropriate and took accountability for it at the time. Besides that, I don't know what I did that wronged you. You switched up on me completely out of nowhere, without any explanation, so from my perspective, I had no idea what you could have possibly been thinking of me. With everything I did, including this message, I was never trying to win you over. I was just inviting you in. I'm not asking for you to take accountability for anything. That won't change anything. All I wanted out of this was clarity, And since you can't do me the basic human decency of giving it to me, I'm giving it to you. Ultimately, I could be completely wrong about everything. I only have my perspective to work off, since you never spent a couple of seconds out of your day to give me yours. I don't know if it's me, or if it's you, or even someone else. Whatever the reasons are don't concern me anymore. I realize that this doesn't make sense to you just yet, which is fine. You're not my problem to solve. But I do hope that one day it clicks, and that you make peace with this thing you are wrestling. And when you finally see what I'm talking about, don't say anything. So that was the message I sent. I sent that message and then proceeded to block her, because I was tired of being the one pushed away. It's a frustrating thing because I so badly wanted it to work out. This person was my type in every way. Every way. But their inability to communicate, the constant shutting down and stonewalling, just to come back as if everything was fine, the stalking of my account without actually talking to me. You can't live like that. You just can't. And it's a shame the dogs are being louder there. It's one of those things because it's like you always hear that moniker, right, of if someone really does love you, they're willing to do anything, you know, to be able to talk to you, you know. And only I was doing that. And even though she did say those things, you know, she said that I was everything she'd been begging for. I guess it wasn't worth that much. And I understand what you might be thinking. But Rory, what happened in the party? What happened in the phone call that seemed to derail everything? I don't remember if I brought it up in one of the past episodes, but all it essentially was I was just asking her where we were at. During that panic attack, I felt like she was being very distant, and that she was ignoring me. Which I think she was. And so, my assumptions, rightfully so, were real. And I don't think she was ready to take accountability for anything. Like I said, I could be completely wrong about everything, you know. I'm quite sure in myself, as a stable person, mostly stable person, that I'm in the right in this situation, compared to her, who is someone who is unwilling to give clarity or, you know, brevity to anything, and is someone who is plagued by child trauma, amongst other issues. I'm definitely in a much more stable mind space than she was. And everybody around me was telling me that I was in the right and that I deserved better. Throughout the entire time, they telling me I deserved better. And these are people that are willing to tear me down and tell me the truth, whatever chance they get, which I'm very grateful for. To all of my friends, I'm oh so very grateful. And that's one of the plaguing things, you know. You say, what did I do? What was it that I did? What did I do wrong? And this is one of the first in a few times where I've been so confident in myself that I did everything right and everything that I could have. Even with the CD, the last one I gave her, the mixtape, at the very least, how would you react if someone you were giving mixed signals to gave you a handmade gift? Would you call them creepy and to never talk to them again? Or would you say, I appreciate the gift, but I don't think we should keep talking? There's two very different paths with that, right? And so I'm quite confident in myself. It's very easy to put someone on a pedestal and try and see past flaws, you know? And I very much was doing that with her because I so desperately wanted it to be her. But there's a certain point where you just have to be like, well, what am I doing to myself? And, how are we doing for time? It's been about 15 minutes. So, I'll wrap this up with something, a quick, I guess, sort of update with my life. Which is that I've been in a much different headspace recently. Recently, I felt sort of free. I felt much more content with my independence, which is healthy. One thing that does concern me, though, is the root causes for this, and if it's going down a stable and healthy path. One of the things you may hear is that avoidance create avoidance. You know, avoidance can turn people that were either secure or like anxiously insecure into avoidant people. And I'm worried if I'm confusing my own ability to appreciate myself, with the fear of something like this happening again. Because that's what an avoidant is. It's just someone who is afraid of being abandoned. So they develop a strong sense of independence as a way to avoid that. And I'm trying to diagnose whether or not I'm going down that path too, or if it's just because I'm being content with myself. I mean, naturally, only time will tell. And this is probably a topic I'll save for the next video. But I don't think it is. As in, like, I don't think I'm becoming an avoidant. Because I still do, want to be with someone, and I still do have a lot of love to give. I think that I'm just finally appreciating my own independence. Not necessarily appreciating it, but being okay with it. I've definitely been a very codependent person, but this is the first time where I wanted to go on road trips by myself, go, hiking by myself. I've always been relatively by myself for most of my life. I think I'm just learning how to love it again. I think for most of my life I've been grasping at wanting to be a social person because that's the thing to be. And it feels good to be social. I love hanging out with people. I love hanging out with my friends. But I feel like a lot of why we do that is because we think we should. I think a lot of us become social people because we think we should do it, and then through that we find that we do enjoy it, which is a good thing, But there's still that voice in the back of your head which is like, even though I don't want to go to this party, think about all the photos I could get that I could put on the next Instagram story, That little thought is still there sometimes, which can be frustrating, but I think I'm past that phase in my life, somewhat, and I'm finally able to appreciate being on my own again. I'd be remiss to say that I'm not scared of something like this happening again. I think, naturally, I am, worried that this same situation would happen again, where I fall head over heels for someone that ends up flipping the script. But I think going forward, I'm just going to be very selective with the people I choose to talk to and engage with, and not put up with abysmal dog shit anymore. If this last person has taught me anything, is to not put up with abysmal dog shit from, people that aren't putting in the amount of work that you are. And so I think I'm on a good path. I think I'm on a good path, and I'm on a path of next. What's next? And next is all anybody could ever want. So with that, I'll leave this episode here. Hopefully the next episode will be something a bit more on track and a bit more put together. This is a very impromptu video. But yeah, so I'll see you all in the next one. And until then, onwards and upwards. See you then.